Today we have a model lesson. You guys have all, I know, been through some of these before. Remember that at the end we'll be giving you a brief survey. We really do value the input and feedback you give on these model lessons, so please be paying attention and giving your best. This is Ms. Stuntz.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. So I know that you've been reading Animal Farm and talking about irony. Before we start, could someone tell me the definition of irony that you've been working with?
The difference between expectation and reality.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely. So I know most of what we'll be doing today is focusing on chapter 4, and I'm sure most of what you do in class focuses on a specific chapter, but sometimes you can't see something as ironic until you get a little farther into the book. So I wanted to start off by looking back at the 7 Commandments. I'm going to flip to those. The 7 Commandments, when they were first written, were they ironic or were they meant sincerely? Yeah, absolutely. That was an easy one. And would you say now, looking back at them, are they still sincere? Are they things that, for the most part, the animals are following? Yeah. Now, I agree. I think number 7, all animals are equal. You could debate. Maybe some of them, some of the animals might disagree. But for the most part, it does seem like that's pretty sincere and they still believe in those. But when we look farther back, when Major is giving his speech that inspired the commandments, and he says, "Remember also that in fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him." So that also is meant sincerely, but can we think of ways that the animals have started to resemble man? This can be from any of the chapters that you've read so far. Absolutely. They sort of automatically assumed that that was something valuable and something that they wanted without thinking that that was something that they were taking from man. What else in the same vein? So things that we would think of as civilized and for humans, what else are the animals learning or working with? Yes?
Make animals do work.
Yeah, and what's your name?
Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Absolutely. So they have this labor system that they've organized. Anything else? It can be pretty basic. Forming, yes, so maybe not so basic, very, very elaborate and complex. Yeah, absolutely. And what's your name?
Manual.
Manuel? Yeah, thank you. So I think looking back, this was something that's meant sincerely, and you both have pointed out ways that maybe the expectation that we don't the animals don't start to resemble man is not fitting with the reality. And so we can look back and see the irony developing. But for now, we're going to focus on the irony within chapter 4. So I'm going to split you into groups. We'll do, it's a smaller group than I expected. I'll split you into groups. Each group will have one section of the chapter to read, and you're going to look for examples of irony in the chapter. Can I borrow your book so I see the page numbers? Thank you. So, group 1 will have just you two, and you're going to read pages 37 and 38. Group 2 will do 3, and you'll do 39 and 40, 39 and 41. And for the third group, you two, 43 and 40, 42, 43, 44, and I'll write those down. Okay. Thank you. So is everyone clear what group they're in? All right, so for the first minute or two, read through your section and just mark for yourself any moments of irony that you come across. Yeah, so to start off, you guys can just read to yourselves, and then I'll let you know when you can talk as a group. So, you can be pretty loose about the definition of irony for this, so anytime that the expectation isn't lining up with reality, and then when you talk about it as a class, if someone thinks that it's not ironic, we'll talk about it there. I think try to be more on the level of thought instead of the word choice, so that when an event happens, it's contrary to people's expectations. Yeah. Absolutely. And can you do it in time on this? Actually, I'm trying to look at the time. Thank you. Yes. 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 Let's take 30 more seconds to finish skimming your section of the chapter for irony. All right, so for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I want you to talk with the people in your group and pick what you think are the 2 most significant examples of irony in your section. So by most significant, I mean most interesting, what teaches us the most about how things are going on Animal Farm.
It's just a literal thing of it, just saying, oh yeah, it's not just handle inside the house. Because you know what cars is already.
Sure, you
It's basically
can see that as
animals.
general,
Okay.
specific in the past. thinking that we will, and all of a sudden, we're really-
Yeah, they're beginning to have feelings, like, panic to come over and then realize she's rebellion.
Let's take 30 more seconds to pick what you think the top 2 examples are.
Because I mean, when have you ever seen farmhand?
I mean,
Never, barely.
yeah.
Okay, with you,
Like, no, we didn't form like it. Actually, that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, it kind of depends on the farmers. It's a thing like, come on, you don't want to see the pigs. Like, they all come to you, they all eat. But like, some of them, like, didn't come. So it's like,
that's not, that's because something else.
All right, does everyone have at least one example that they can share? Group 2, you have some examples? At least one. All right, let's start with group 1. What's something that you found? Please. Can you read a little bit louder?
However, these stories were never fully believed. So like, they were probably very told, but they didn't believe it.
The story's about Animal Farm. So what would the expectation be there? Because what are the stories about? Anyone else, can your other group member help you out? What are the people telling stories about when they're gossiping about how things are going at Animal Farm? Even at the basic level, are the rumors saying that things are going well there or going poorly? Sure. It's fine to be super simplistic and then we can build off of that. So if the expectation is that Animal Farm isn't doing well, and the reality is that it's fine and prosperous, we can see sort of an ironic difference between what the humans are expecting and what the animals are actually making happen. Group 2, what was an example you came up with?
I said that animals, us humans are superior, so we're supposed to like defeat all the animals, but we actually didn't. We got defeated by them.
Is there a specific part in the text that you can point us to so everyone can see that? I think you're on something. Any other group mates, since you all were talking about it? Do you know what part in the text he's talking about?
This is
It was the part that we were looking at together, right?
So this was
So could you read those first 2 sentences so we can see that?
and then we shouted triumphantly. They imagined the enemies in flight and they rushed after them in disorder.
Right. So the humans, they thought they'd won the battle, and then what happens right after that?
They get hit with malfunction.
Yeah. So the animals, not only do they beat them, but they're a step ahead in planning. And so what does this show us? What's the point in comparing what the humans think and what the animals think? Maybe the third member of the group have anything?
Robin?
Robin? Yeah.
Repeat that?
So what do you think is the point in showing us first the humans saying like, yes, we did it, we won the battle, and then all of a sudden things get turned upside down and they get defeated? How does that make the humans look?
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Any other words other than dumb?
That's very. No.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's even stronger, right? Because they probably assume themselves to be so superior that to have that turned on its head is a powerful moment. That's good. Group 3, what were some that you found?
We said that the expectation that the humans thought about the animals, that they didn't know how to fight, or just simple animals, but we see that in page 43, it says, no, sentimentally, comrades cried Snowball from those wounds of the blood was still dripping. War is war, the only good human being is the dead one. That just basically shows how it's just reality that they seem to know how war works and just, they already know what's going on around them.
So, 2 things with that. I think that that's absolutely true and pretty similar to the takeaway here. Just the difference between what you might expect for humans versus animals and the reality with the animals triumphing. But also, so Snowball is a master of these battle tactics. How did Snowball learn how to fight? And anyone who remembers there can tell me. What was he reading? Yes?
A book of GBC.
Yeah. So did that one? I think you, Manuel, pointed out that it's ironic in the first place that the animals have started reading and they're learning from humans, but specifically.
That was Trevor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But specifically, I'm not sure that how much you know about ancient history. Do you know what Caesar was like, or what happened when Caesar was leading his armies?
Conquered a lot of them.
Yeah, he was super successful, and the Roman government went from a republic, which is sort of what Animal Farm is like. You have a democracy, everyone working together, the voices of everyone is heard, and then he became so powerful with military success that it became the start of the Roman Empire, where Caesar and then the later leaders were dominant. And so that might be, do you remember the term for when an author hints at something that's going to come next in the text?
So they're
Foreshadow?
Yeah. Absolutely. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing going on there. Now, are there any other moments of irony, and it can be something that you found within your group or something you noticed when you were reading at home? Anything that jumped out at you as ironic? Anything that jumped out as ironic, and it can be within this section or just within the whole chapter. Anything that we haven't discussed yet. Was there anything else in the 3rd section I haven't heard from you yet? What was your name?
Rudy.
Rudy?
Yeah.
Did you come across anything?
Well, in page 44, it's similar to what Kevin and Manuel already said about the military, how they think that they could create a military, but they really don't know.
So the similar takeaway that animals are more superior to the humans, and humans don't really have accurate estimation. Anything else? Anything from group 2? All right, there's one that I wanted to point out. Could I borrow your book again just for the page number? Thank you. All right, so if you go to page 39, could you please read the last 2 sentences in that paragraph, loud enough for everyone to hear?
It was given out that the animals were what came of rebelling against the law of nature, Frederick and Pilkington said.
All right. So, first of all, what's the irony there? What do the humans expect? It's more specific, an example of this, right? So, Animal Farm is failing in all of these terrible ways, and in reality, Animal Farm is doing well. But specifically, when they mention that it's contrary to the laws of nature, what do the laws of nature mean in that section? What are the examples they give? Right, so the three things that they say that animals are doing that are contrary to the law of nature.
Each other.
Hmm?
They eat each other.
Right, eating each other,
Torturing each other.
torturing each other. And they're not monogamous, would be the third one. Does everyone know what monogamy means? Only having one romantic partner at a time. They don't really get married. And so all of these examples, would you say that not going through traditional weddings, acting violently, are these things that we would associate with laws of nature, or these laws of civilization? Yeah. So, what do you think is the effect of having this sort of confusion about what is natural and what is civilized throughout the book?
It's just gonna change the way how the animals think.
The way the animals think?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else? So we have the animals who are living more in line with what we would think of as civilization. The humans who are confused about what's natural and what's civilized. Do you think that this is reflecting better on the animals or the humans, just as a basic starting point? Right. So the animals seem like they're superior. We see Animal Farm doing well. But then again, when we looked back at the start of class for the section where Major was giving these commandments to the animals, and we saw how already they're not really following some of the things, and they're starting to resemble man, it's possible that these takeaways are going to become even more ironic later on. So what I want us to do as our final activity is pick one character, one animal character, and think or write down. Actually, if you can get out paper and pencil. Anyone need paper? If you need something, you can ask, and I'm sure you can borrow. Please. You can rip a sheet in half, you don't have to use all your paper. It's just a short question, so if you want to share that piece. Does everyone have something to write with? Does anyone need something to write with?
Oh, that's hard.
Right, so pick your character, and I want you to write what you think the character would predict for their future, and what you, as an educated student who knows about irony and is well aware of how ironic this text is, what you would predict for their future. Is anyone confused about that? Okay, great. So, what do you think Snowball would predict for his future? Yeah, absolutely. Show your animals. And it doesn't have to be complete sentences, so you can just pick one and write like, roughly what you think that they would predict and how you think it'll turn out. And I'm gonna leave you with that, so you can look back and see, you know, how Orwell is maybe setting us up to believe one thing and turning that on its head and having things turn out in a completely different way.
Folks, while you guys are finishing that up, let's snap it up one more time for Ms. Stuntz from the Endeavor Model lesson. I'm also gonna hand out your student surveys, all right? Yes, please take 2 minutes right now. It's gonna be pretty quick. It's not thoughtful. Oh, were you just gonna do that?